We don't say that artificial intelligence will replace revenue management, but you will be replaced by someone who is using the artificial intelligence. It takes us 10 minutes. You press the button, it's generated. Next one, Reese, please. You can do revenue management with pen and paper, of course, but your opportunities will be absolutely limited. Right now, you don't need to do the video recording anymore. You actually need to have the good concept of your training content. You feed the artificial intelligence with the training content and say, create a video.
And today we are talking about revenue management. And I'm lucky enough to have Alexei Kovrigin here to speak to us directly from Hotel Lab. Alexei, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here, Alex. And
thank you, Marisa, and hello, everybody.
Revenue management is basically the soul and the reason why hotels exist, right? We can be romantic talking about hospitality and receiving people, but in the end of the day, it's a business and it needs to be profitable. So it's really important that hoteliers understand what is going on and how revenues of management systems are evolving, because right now we are in a very confusing times when it comes to understanding technology, mainly in our industry that's moving very, very fast. So I'm very grateful to have you here to explain how you see revenue management moving forward and what you have already in the market today. So thank you for being here. And Alexei, your story mates back to Starwood, actually, where you built the in-house revenue management system for them there. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you end up into hospitality, revenue management, and how was that experience at the Starwood?
Oh, that started about 23 years ago, and my first hotel was Le Méridien, and my GM, John Wood, he said, well, I'm hiring you, but I don't really have a clue what revenue management is. So you figure it out. And since then, I'm figuring it out. So it has been a long time, but most of my career is spent indeed in Starwood Hotels and Resorts, which, as you probably know, was a very innovative company, and they always supported the innovation specifically for revenue management. And we then had a pleasure and excitement to build our own enterprise revenue management system called ROS, Revenue Optimization System, essentially is an abbreviation. And looking around at the off-the-shelf revenue management systems, I would say that ours was much more powerful than that was 10 years ago, but it was much more powerful than any competitive product that exists today in the market. So that was a lucky experience to do that. Everything else after that was really easy.
What do you mean by busy?
Well, there is nothing that everybody is trying to do today, what we haven't done at Starwood Hotels and Resorts. It's all they were trying to catch up still what we used to do 10 years ago.
That's amazing. Okay, but I have to ask this question. So what they were doing and what they still do that you guys managed to do better that is still relevant today?
Well, everybody's still talking about total revenue management, and it has been a gossip and talk for decades. So we actually were doing it at Starwood. Just to mention.
And what does it mean, total revenue?
When you look at the title of people, they go called at the hotels leading the revenue management function. They're told director of revenue management or revenue manager, right? You don't specify that actually they're directors of rooms revenue management. You mean the total hotel, right? So it means restaurants, bars, room service, banqueting facilities, spas, parking places, golf courses, casinos if you wish. So everything needs to be revenue managed. And we used to, well, the whole still moving in this direction.
Wow, that's incredible. Now you moved to Hotel Lab. So what made you go to Hotel Lab, and can you pitch Hotel Lab for us, please?
Well, it's a very innovative company. Well, we fast and furiously going out of the genes of a startup company. We're not a startup anymore, and growing into a new modern RMS platform. I would call it a new generation RMS and BI platform compared to the, well-established ones such as Ideas or Duetto. So we try to be innovative all the way through and apply, create unique products and apply new solutions that don't exist in the market.
That's a hard thing to do, actually. You have to come up with new.
Let me call out one. Recently, a couple of months ago, we launched a unique product that is a monthly market report generated by the artificial intelligence. The market reports, there are some random activities around it. Sometimes the HVS is releasing the report about Calcutta, one day about Paris, one day about London, and so on. But you never get it consistently. And the hotels need to understand where they are, where the markets are, well, on a consistent basis. When they do the month-end closing, for instance, they need to look back and see what happened. So it's a regularity that they need. And that doesn't happen. There are other companies providing the market reports, but they're very high level, and they're coming with huge delays. Like the report for, let's say, for May, you will receive in the beginning of July, and nobody needs it. We actually release this report in the first week after the month expired. So, like last week, we released the reports for May, since we are in the beginning of June.
That's fantastic. So, and you are using basically artificial intelligence to be able to gather so much data at one point and deliver so quickly, right?
Right. The most difficult thing here is the consolidation of data and the analysis and interpretation of the data. So we have the data. Being an RMS, we have the data. But the interpretation itself, we delegate to the artificial intelligence by using prompts. It gives us, we give the smart prompts. The artificial intelligence gives us the smart answers. And it just formats the entire report, about 20 pages long, about the trends and dynamics in the market, for the key metrics, about the segmentation analysis, booking window analysis, day of week analysis, all kind of analysis, and ends it with the outlook for the next 30, 60, 90 days. And guess how quickly we can generate a report per market? It takes us 10 minutes, right? It just, you press the button, it's generated. Next one, Greece, please. Next one. And it just, that's the key, because those analyses are very laborious. And that's why they cannot be done on a regular basis, or they come with huge delays or very high level. So we cracked this nut.
We are leaving tomorrow already, right? It's incredible how we are moving fast towards a future that we only imagined a few years ago. But when I was doing some research about revenue management systems, I found out about 43 revenue management systems on Hotel Tech Report, right? But not every independent hotel use a revenue management system, right? And it's hard to understand, as we are saying now, like we are leaving tomorrow, and some hotels are still struggling to adopt revenue management systems in their hotel. So what do you believe that's the biggest misconception hoteliers have about revenue management systems today?
Revenue management is always about three things. First of all, the process. Second, technology. And the third ingredient is people. So you might have a good process in place to collect the data, to process the reservations and all of that, but you will not be getting the top performance, top results without technology. And even if you have technology in place, you will not be able to use the technology without training people, without preparing people, educating them. So it takes all three ingredients to implement the revenue management system. If any one of them is missing, then it fails. So it's not complex, but it requires a little bit of commitment and a little bit of motivation to do that on the side of hotels. But we will get there. We'll get there.
Now I have a question regarding the hoteliers themselves. What is the weakest link when it comes to the hoteliers? Is that the process that they are missing, they are lacking of? Is the technology they are afraid of? Or is just the people that cannot understand?
I would say the approach to peel this onion would be the education, the training. That's where everything starts. And actually, being at Starwood, I was leading the Revenue Management Academy, and I met thousands and thousands of users and hotels. And you start with someone who is totally against the revenue management system. But when you go through the training and like not directly, indirectly, you show this report and that screen and this analysis, and you explain why you need this analysis and what you can do with the power of these tools, then they start realizing, oh, I need to talk to my GM and probably sign up, subscribe to the revenue management system first thing after I complete the training. So it's education always.
And why are they against a revenue management system?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. That's, I think, the what is in the nutshell. It's ignorance, really. Once you understand, once you are trained on revenue management, you understand why it is so critical and important. Well, you can do revenue management with pen and paper, of course, but your opportunities will be absolutely limited with that. So you can do it in Excel. You will have a little bit more freedom, but just a little bit. So you need a proper system and proper business intelligence solution in order to take on all the computation and all the repeating and routine tasks, so that you don't have to complete them. You only have to analyze, strategize, and make decisions. That's the whole purpose of revenue management system. Well, it takes some education to understand it.
It's amazing how education is important. And in your philosophy there in the Hotel Lab, you says empower, not replace revenue managers. And what does it look like in practice? Because people are concerned mainly in the revenue management positions that AI will take their jobs. So what does it actually mean when it comes to empower, not replace?
We phrase it differently at Hotel Lab. We don't say that artificial intelligence will replace revenue management, but you will be replaced by someone who is using the artificial intelligence. So you can work smarter. And I just gave you an example about AI Market Pulse, the report that we now generate. So essentially, it's just an idea, and anyone at the property level can activate and get involved into the artificial intelligence, even without using a big system or something, but in your day-to-day work. And definitely you start getting a competitive advantage compared to your peers at other hotels. You become more powerful and much more knowledgeable, I would say, and you can accomplish a lot more tasks in a shorter period of time when you use artificial intelligence. So it's not the artificial intelligence who will replace you, it's your peer in the next hotel who will in your seat.
Incredible. When it comes to, you're speaking about training is the most important part of awareness, really, to learn why to use the revenue management system. And what kind of training on onboarding you think that's essential for hoteliers before they can actually use a solution like Hotel Lab, for example?
The basic revenue management training, meaning like how we facilitate the revenue management sessions, the basic ones, the fundamentals, is we start with the explanation, of course, of the concept of revenue management, and we explain the ingredients of revenue management, which is very simple: segmentation, demand, pricing, and distribution. So once they start understanding, and when we walk them through this concept, obviously we have to talk about some reports, that pickup report, the very famous PACE report, segmentation report, budget report, forecast report, and so on. So you talk through those reports, and people start understanding, oh, I like this, and how do I get my forecast right very quickly? And maybe I can, when I do pricing for, 20 different room types in my hotel, how can I maybe automate it? And then what comes to mind is, why don't you use the revenue management system that can do it in the autopilot for you? Well, you can manage it by exception, meaning that any special events you can manage manually, but the normal business days can be managed related to the revenue management system.
Do you guys have a system in-house that you support the hoteliers with this learning and skilling of using the revenue management, or is it just part of the support when you onboard them?
Or you're probably talking about the pricing simulator that we have. that's another great innovation of Hotel Lab that differentiates us from the market. This is essentially a gamification tool for revenue management training. I don't know, Mauricio, if you had a chance to go to the revenue management trainings, but they tend to be very, very boring. I've been to the trainings of salespeople when they throw stress balls at each other, and it's very loud and lots of laugh. Revenue managers are staring at the screen and keep silent. So in order to, and a part of that is the training delivery itself, because it's only about spreadsheets, it's only about tables, it's only about numbers. But what we try to do with this pricing simulator is to give the potential revenue management consultants, maybe hotel institutions, a chance to convert it into a game that conveys a lot of interesting ideas and supports a lot of interesting concepts, when you essentially tell your students that now you will have a learning experience with pricing scenarios, right? You will be a revenue manager for 7 days for a week. Well, it's virtual 7 days. It runs very quickly in a matter of 1-2 hours. So you're a revenue manager for 7 days of a 4-star hotel with 3 room categories, central location, short booking window, and you have to make your own pricing decisions. So off they go. They start with the game, and each student, each participant has its own separate simulation hotel, right? And the hotel is exactly the same. But the pricing decisions that they make are absolutely independent from each other. So everyone has its own, scenario and concept. So we first walk them through the setup, such as competitive set and other parameters that are important for them to understand in order to, participate in the game fully and immerse into the, this experience. And so they start a day and they have to look at the screen that is very similar to our Hotel Lab RMS and make their own pricing decisions. So they have a lot of information on the screens, such as pickup, availability, current rate, the competitive rates, and so on. And so they have to make their pricing decisions. And we do it in 3 phases. The first phase represents the so-called bar level models. When they can switch, when they do pricing, they can switch from one pricing level to another. Let's say from 150 euros to 160, but not in between. Okay. And then after every day, they complete every day. So reprice the next 21 days. And they send the pricing to the distribution channels. And then the system generates the report, how accurate they were with their pricing compared to the optimal, perfect optimal pricing model that the system is generating. And we measure their accuracy. Let's say the average score is 80 to 90%. Okay. And that creates a little bit of, I would say, competition and competitiveness spirit between the students. I've got 85, you've got 90. Okay, let's go on. Next day. And they repeat it 7 days. So every day they get a score. And then they switch to the second part of the game, which is the kind of open pricing scenario when the price point can be anything for their standard room type, but their premium and upgrade room types are fixed, with the fixed differentials. So that's the second phase of the game. And the third phase is a totally fully open pricing scenario when they have to price the standard rooms, the upgrade rooms, and the suites absolutely independently. Okay, this concept is called open pricing. And then they realize that, it's a lot of work. When you do the open pricing, the most advanced pricing model, right? You have to reprice every single room type separately. And that's, many, many pricing decisions every day. And then it becomes obvious to them, I need automation. I need the revenue management system to replace me in this sense. I'm happy to check, but I want a system to do all this tedious pricing work for me.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying this show and if you are learning something new today, please consider following the show, subscribe to our channel, or leave us a review. It helps us to help more people through the podcast, and it would mean the world to us. Thank you for listening, and we're back on the chat.
So that's essentially the game.
Is this tool available only for Hotel Lab clients, or is available for students as well, or anyone interested in it?
We use it as a go-to-market tool. Essentially, that's how people and markets get to know us. So we offer it to the revenue management consultants, to the hotel schools, to anyone who is involved into management training.
If we think now of a hotelier that's listening to our chat today and they want to get practical, right? They want to understand. So they know that they can have the tool from Hotel Lab to really understand better. But if they don't have yet the budget or the allowance to go and purchase a revenue management system now, what steps they could take in the next month to improve the revenue management process before choosing a system?
Well, the budget conversation is obviously something to do with our sales team. I would suggest go and talk to our sales. They will convince you, because essentially signing up for a revenue management system, it's a dedication. You have to spend time to set it up and be a little bit patient before you start getting results, because it depends on the booking window, and you might be very close to July. If it's a resort location, it's too late to do anything for July because you're already full, but you will start seeing results in August and further. So I would say it's always a budget consideration, but always look at the revenue potential that you're now not capturing compared to what will be the revenue uplift when you start applying the revenue management system. And of course, it will absolutely cover all the cost that you pay for running the system. But when it's just a mindset that you need to believe that it's something that you need to go for. But also, well, I would look at the internal processes, how you work with the data at your property. So do you have the clearly defined segments in your property? Because if everything is a mixed bag of, no differentiation between the retail segment and maybe wholesale segment, corporate and so on, packages, well, we will need to clean it up before you start using the MS system. So it really goes back to the education again. So setting up the basics, the standards at your property.
And if you would like to evaluate if they are doing well, if the revenue strategy is actually helping them or hindering the long-term success, what they should be looking at?
Well, they would probably need to contact us. We will do the audit together with them, where they stand. So what's the technology stack at the moment? What are their current processes? We always do this research and analysis before we install the RMS system, well, Hotel Lab RMS at least, because essentially we do care about the success of, and if we see that the hotel is not ready with that, we will give the medical subscription. So please do this and this and this. So then we will collect the clean data, at least a couple, and then we can install the system.
And if we would think about the future of revenue management systems, right? Because this is something that gets some people anxious. Where you just said that, you won't be replaced by a person by AI, but by a person that uses AI. But when it comes to the future of revenue management systems, what's your personal hope for that? And what are you very excited that is coming?
Well, they are getting more and more sophisticated. There are still lots of areas in the revenue management systems that need to be improved. And well, in case of Hotel Lab, we know what we need to do, and we know how to become the best RMS in the world. It's just a matter of resources. We're a self-paying company. We don't have a fat, deep pocket of a investor. Gradually, we do that. So lots of innovation will be related to the artificial intelligence. Like, I can give you an example. For example, right now we are talking about creating a new format of the revenue management training. So in the past, we used to do the video recordings. Right now, you don't need to do the video recording anymore. You actually need to have the good concept of your training content. You feed the artificial intelligence with the training content and say, create a video. By the way, I want to use Pluto as a character who will be talking about revenue management. And the artificial intelligence is capable of doing it. it saves you tons of money and tons of work. So a lot of these things will evolve, I would say, around artificial intelligence. I would not overestimate the power of it right now when it comes to processing the data, because you really need to know what you do when you involve artificial intelligence. But I would say, like, the territory is absolutely unexplored, even with the advanced revenue management systems, what we can link the artificial intelligence.
And if I want to learn more about revenue, we talk about that you have the tool, but if I want to read more or do a course or read an article to understand more about revenue management systems and see if that's right for my hotel or not on my own, because I don't want to be sold just yet, what type of resources would suggest for hoteliers, or where they should be looking for this information?
I guess you have Schulering have courses on all kind of subjects for the hospitality. Probably it's
not for all
educational database or knowledge base. No. Well, we are right now rebuilding. I'm very tempted to say that you need to go through the training experience of Hotel Lab, but we're now just creating this infrastructure right now. As what I told you, now we all realized in the company that really that's a missing part, how we can recruit new clients through the education, because they take a course and then it's very easy to convince them that they need the technology solutions for that. So that's what we are creating right now. Maybe talk to me in a couple of months' time and I will have a better answer for you. So the Hotel Lab. That's a plan.
I normally ask a message to our hoteliers, something as inspiring message. What would you tell our hoteliers an inspiring message today?
I would say embrace technology. Definitely, it's a lot of potential that sits behind technology. It frees up your hands. You can think about strategy instead of typing numbers or recycling numbers, collecting numbers. It all can be automated for you. If you're not convinced, most systems working on subscription, just subscribe for 3 months, 6 months, whatever the terms are, and then test and try it. And I'm sure that you will start liking it. It's a little bit of, getting out of the comfort zone is a little bit challenging, and starting to trust the system is a little bit, changing the mindset, but just go with that and sure you will not regret that. Or at least you would say, at least I tried.
That's the mindset that we need to have in hospitality, right? Like not being so afraid of testing technology, even if fails, it's okay. Fails is part of the learning process, and I don't need to make an expensive project and then fail. Of course, it will hurt, but thinking about failure as part of the learning process, I believe that's essential for us to actually grow towards a more independent hospitality industry, and as independent hoteliers being more in charge of their own businesses. So I'm very behind your suggestion here. Thank you so much, Alexei. Alexei, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for lending your time, knowledge here with us today. How can our audience get in touch with you, learn more about Hotel Labs, or just if they want to reach out and learn more about you yourself?
Very easy. Go to our website, hotellab.io. There are all the contact information there, lots of articles, lots of reading material. You can sign up for a consulting session with our expert, to, as I said, assess your hotel and give you the right advice about the right RMS solution.
Thank you so much. I'll put the notes here, our description. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Alexei. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next week.